Most advisors go into scarcity, survival, defensive mode, fixated on the TV, the news feed, all that, right? Like watching a train wreck real time, while 20% go and look to help more people. And that becomes separation season. I really believe that 2025 will be a separation season. Hi, this is Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to bring guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go ahead and get that claimed. Smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode. Hi, this is your Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. In this episode, as we quickly get through January here, it seems, 2025, I want to talk about why you cannot bring your 2024 identity into your 2025 game/business plan. So one of the things that I've been very aware of for many years is, and I finally got a chance to really synthesize it and kind of really, I can now talk about it, not just some concept, is that all of us, in order to improve our results, whether it's our economics, our impact, or all of the above, we're always constantly working on ourselves. We're always constantly evolving. So think of it like Michelangelo and David sculpture, which I got a chance to see a while back on a trip. Like you're just sitting there, like you're chipping away, you're forming things, right? You're evolving, right? So on and so forth. And I think a lot of times what happens in our game is that we, as a default, look at the current version of ourselves. And then what we want to do is we want to, like, whether it's 1-year goals or 3-year goals or 10-year goals, we start thinking about what we want to accomplish. And then it kind of freaks us out sometimes, because what all of us do, and I was guilty of it too until I got really cognizant of this, is that we tend to filter or evaluate our future goals based on our current self/current identity. And when we do that, and by the way, we don't do this consciously, is it makes us uncomfortable, freaks us out a little bit. I don't know if I can do that. We lose our certainty. We lose our confidence in getting something done because we're trying to figure out how to get it done, all right? And then the current version of you may not have the capabilities to get your future goals done. And then we question the whole thing. And this is what happens for most human beings. One of the exercises, if we're going to use that as a term here, you always want to do is that when you're setting goals, and I had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to be in Dallas, Texas, and I spoke at an IMO, did a whole day training for them. And one of the things that I talk about in that conversation was, what most advisors do, they set goals, right? Oh, here's what I want to do, right? Whether it's context, it's going to be more of a premium goal. And then what we tend to do is reverse engineer it, right? So for example, 2024, you did $750,000 of top line revenue. And this year you want to do $975,000 because you can't put the $1 million number down because it freaks you out, right? So that's a whole different conversation. And so, hey, I want to go from 750, to, let's say 950, 975. And so we do that. Okay, here's my stated goal for 2025. Then what's the next thing we do? We sit here and we're all great planners, right? We reverse engineer it. We come up with kind of how much money I need to put under management, how many new clients do I need, premium's part of your game, how much premium do I need to write, and you have that, right? And then we go, okay, I got my game plan. Well, here's what I want to accomplish. Here's how I'm going to accomplish it. And what's happening is that you're then not really being very intentional about figuring out the next version of you. What version of me needs to show up in 2025? And so in my mind, in this example, the question I would pose to the advisor would be, okay, I've got the $750,000 version of you right here in front of me in this conversation. What does the $1 million version need to look like? And that is a very precise question because the $750,000 version of you will not get the $1 million goal done or the 975 or the 950 goal. It won't happen, right? In order to really give you the best opportunity to accomplish your goals in any year, in any situation, there are two other elements that need to be present to really get what I call a complete syntax, okay? So first one is the goal itself, which we've already talked about, right? And then obviously how to get it done. So I look at those as bookends, right? Kind of the first box and the fourth box, okay? But there's two other boxes in the middle. I actually drew this out in Dallas. So why is it a must? Who do I need to become to get it? And the third box, which is our conversation for today, is really all about identity, right? Like, who do I need to become in order to pull that off? So I'm going to peel this back. This is a real conversation I had a week ago with one of my personal clients. They were doing some, they were going, in January, we go over everybody's business plans here, right? And I'm questioning kind of, their methodology, in terms of the goal and stuff like that. And I say, okay, who do you need to become to pull this off? And this is where the first sabotage is you don't think about that. And the second sabotage is that you think about it in a very basic, benign, nebulous way. So for example, who do you need to become to pull this off? Answer. Well, I need to get better at referrals. What else? I need to get more committed to my morning. What else? Listen to what the words are though. They're concepts, right? I need to get better at my referral game. How do you measure that? How do you even synthesize measuring that, right? So a big part of identity is raising of standards with clarity. I'll say it again. A big part of identity is the raising of standards with clarity and precision, okay? So for example, I need to get better at my referral game in 2025. Great. So what's our current benchmark? Okay, question. How many names did you source in 2024? 12. Great. What does the new standard need to be for 2025? Right? 30. Okay, great. So specifically now, what are you going to do? Right? And now we get into very specific strategies. So in this situation, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up in every review. Great. How are you going to make sure that absolutely happens? I'm going to make it part of the written agenda. Great, right? So all of a sudden now, right, we go from I got to get better at X, right, referrals. Standard was 12 last year. New standard 30. And now we're very specific inside of how we're going to do it. That's how you shift identity, okay? I got to get up earlier and do better at my morning ritual. Okay, great. Let's peel it now. What was our current standard? Oh, I used to get up at 6:15, 6:30. Okay. And then what you used to do? I used to get up, hit my inbox, check out the news, see what's going on, right? All the things I hate, right? So great. What's the new standard? Precisely. right? Okay, I'm going to get up no later than 6. Great. What else are you going to do? And then we kind of went through some protocol. I'm not going to bore you with the details here. It's a whole different episode. But part of this is that, we think about identity, it's really about standards. Hi, Coach Joe Lukacs here, and I'm just breaking here for a moment just to do a couple quick reminders. Number one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast. In addition, please leave a comment or a review. Those things really, really matter. And share this episode with 3 of your colleagues inside the financial services space. And lastly, make sure that you go ahead and claim your free membership inside of Magellan Network. Now back to this week's episode. Somebody said, well, Joe, how do you change yourself? Like, how do you elevate, right? That's always a question. I think first off, you have to have a compelling reason to do it, right? So there has to be, again, I want to elevate. It's a concept. Why is it a must? I'm tired of being average, mediocre. Okay, great. What's the payoff? All right, here's my payoff. What's missing in the formula? Who do I need to become to pull it off? You'll always find, whenever you're setting goals, short and long term, that there's always going to be a question. Who do you need to become to do this? Because the current version can't do it. Why? Because it hasn't happened in the past with any level of consistency. So if you think about like things you failed in, right? Whether it was a health goal, a fitness goal, an economic goal, anything like that, it wasn't that the goal itself was probably bad. I'm sure you had, reasons why you wanted that to happen. You probably even went down the road of coming up the tasking of how to get it done. The crux, the fulcrum, the key is your identity. And that's why you can't bring last year's identity into this game, into the 25 game. And I'll say it this way too. Big disclaimer here. I am not a market person. I'm around it, obviously, but I will never say I'm a market maven or anything like that. But I've talked to clients who are pretty smart about this stuff. And, last year we had 20% plus on the S&P. The year before we had 20% plus on the S&P. I go, what's the odds of having 20% plus in the S&P 3 years in a row? And he says, pretty unheard of, pretty unprecedented. Again, I'm not my area. So he said, if you think about it, a lot of advisors are on a sugar high. Like, my advisor would be, I've got X amount of dollars under management. He said, yeah, but you've had 20%, growth periods. How much money did you attract, right? Forget that, right? And so what I'm saying here is in 2025, and this is not negative thinking, by the way, this is just preparation. Don't be under any delusion that we're just going to have 20%. Now, could it happen? Of course it can. But I would not want to go into here saying, this year will be like last year. We'll have some good market, da-da-da. Can't guarantee that. We all know that. So when we're not sailing with the wind like we've had the last, 24 months, this is when things start separating. Who's got their game on and who's been coasting. Now, I am not a negative thinker. I don't look for bad things to happen. So I'm not going to sit there and say, man, I hope the market's down. We get a big correction. We're down 15, 10, 15. I'm not going to say that. I don't want that. But here's what I know. That people's standards in this game could have been okay average and they still produced a plus result. They still grew their businesses. They still grew their revenue, their game. I truly believe 2025 will not have those conditions. And the sooner you raise your standards, shift your identity, that gives you a massive competitive advantage. In my entire career, 2020 COVID, 2008, 2009, right? Market meltdown, financial world meltdown. I can go back and back and back. We're not going to do that. One of the interesting elements of all that was I saw in all situations when conditions were less than wonderful, most advisors go into scarcity, survival, defensive mode, fixated on the TV, the news feed, all that, right? Like watching a train wreck, real time, while 20% go and look to help more people. And that becomes separation season. I really believe that 2025 will be a separation season this year. So if you're going to do something for yourself this year, really, truly work on your identity. Like, ask yourself. So one of the things that I do, I either do a walk and talk every morning, or I sit and think, or I'm outside of my yard doing stuff thinking, right? But one of the things I think is really important is we all keep asking ourselves, I call them primary questions. One of the primary questions is, who do you need to become in order to fulfill your destiny, in order to fulfill your goals, in order to fulfill the vision you have for yourself and your business? Now, if this is new for you, you can start asking that question, and chances are you're going to get the, I don't know. Your brain will go, I don't know. But keep asking every morning, because your brain will solve it for you. Remember, our brains are the most powerful problem-solving computers known to man. That's why we've never been able to unwrap mysteries of the mind, right? But if you don't ask it great questions like inputs, right? You put crappy inputs, you get crappy output, right? So what I want to challenge everybody doing is every morning, like your first conscious thought, as you get up in the morning, you're still in bed, you could be in bed, I'm cool with that, is ask yourself, who do I need to become in order to pull off my goals, short and long term? And you may not get anything back, like I said, or you may get some vague stuff back. That's okay. Next morning, ask again. Next morning, ask again. Some of my biggest breakthroughs were not immediate breakthroughs. They were just questions that I had no answers. I remember like several years ago when I was Coach Joe 2.0, and as I'm into 3.0 now, one of the metamorphoses that I had from 1.0 to 2.0, there was a number I was doing economically, and I had set a goal of a much larger, like totally, kind of super uncomfortable number, right? And I kept asking myself, who do I need to become to do it? And I was like, I don't know. Who do I need to become? How do I need to get it done? I don't know. Like maybe I have like 2-3 weeks of this. And I remember one day I was on a walk, and I asked that question, as I always do in the morning. And I got a little, hey, how about this? Like my brain said, well, how about this? I went, that's interesting. And then the next morning, I kind of, well, let's take that and what else can we do with it, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like 2018, when I was going from 1.0 to 2.0. How do I do that? I said, well, I can't do it. One-on-one coaching is great. I love my clients. But there's very little leverage in that. And I said, what I need to do is do one-to-many. And that's where Magellan Network started. I remember, because that was like May of 2018. And I just remember, launching Magellan Network Memorial Day weekend on a summer trial for free. And I invited everybody I knew in, and we played all summer. And then we launched the official Labor Day weekend. That would have never happened had I not continued my Q&A with myself. So, like, who do I need to become to pull it off back in May of 2018 was, I need to be a leader of a group of advisors who are willing to invest and giving me the opportunity to impart, at that time, 25 years or 24 years, whatever it was, of 20 plus at least of experience. But it all started with a question, the primary question: who do I need to become to pull this off? So please take that question, put it into your morning box of the questions you ask yourself first thing in the morning, and let your mind go to work for you. It's your most powerful ally, and it's also your most vicious enemy. It all depends on how you want to deploy it. Okay? So, number one, please share this episode with your colleagues and friends in the game. Appreciate that. Number two is make sure that you check out Magellan Network. I've got 30 days for you on me if you want it. Just got to fill out the application. And I will see you all again in 7 days. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game, both personally and professionally.